Okay, so thank you so much, Björn. I would say this is the perfect way to set the scene for our next session, in which we will know more about the Data Spaces Support Center's communities. We will also hear insights from deployment data spaces initiatives themselves. Let's give a warm welcome to Ana Garcia, Secretary General of Big Data Value Association.
So good morning, everyone. So I'm today really representing the Data Spaces Support Center team, and I've been very honored in working directly in the project, leading with colleagues like Sile, like Savas, like Mirte, and many others, what we call the network of stakeholders, the engagement with the stakeholders to make sure that there is co-learnings, co-creation, and value creation from them and to them. And I'm just going to do a bit of an introduction for those that maybe are new to the Data Spaces Support Center. And because we are talking a lot about what we started and where we are today, I just want to start with what we were 3 years ago. This is actually a slide from the European Commission. And this talks about how the policies design the Data Spaces Support Center. And here you see a very strong part in this network of stakeholders, and also the collaboration with the projects in particular, or the initiatives that are developing the data spaces, in particular those ones that are being developed under the Digital Europe program. But there are also other areas, for instance, the engagement with the European Data Innovation Board. And well, we have been working already 18 months. I think it has been a lot of efforts from many people. And I just want to talk about where we are today, but actually I realized this diagram, it doesn't show at all the reality. It gives a structure to what we have, but the reality you will experience this afternoon, this morning, now with the people that will come here on stage. But I want at least to make an introduction of where we are in the size, composition, and how we have structured our communities. Mainly because if you are there and you have not engaged yet with the Data Spaces Support Center, maybe you find your way through this slide. So our main target audience for us, our main customer, is the community of practice. And those are the initiatives that really are developing data spaces. We have a bit of a priority on the projects under digital, as I said before, but we want to collaborate with everyone. And we will have, as I said, a few representatives here. But we also collaborate with organizations like, as the partners, the full partners in the SEC have a lot of expertise. And really inspired by our associated partners, we created the Strategic Stakeholder Forum, that really brings representatives from different member states, different type of stakeholders, to really collaborate with us. And we will know more about this in a moment, and also a bit of success stories. And of course, we also collaborate with many others, many research projects, many initiatives that will need to engage with, also with the data spaces to make sure that there is alignment. And also with that, we give support to the data spaces initiatives. So this is a bit of the diagram that we have today. You see the numbers. But now let's see what this means in practice and how we can get value from these communities. And for that, I want to invite first Sile Sepp from My Data Global. And she has been managing the community of practice. Big applause for Sile. And together with many of you, she has been really making this happen. So Sile, I think you have a microphone. And maybe still standing up with you, after 18 months working in the community of practice, what are your learnings from really engaging with all these initiatives?
Thank you. Indeed. So in the 18 last months, we've been working hard together with the community to actually, first of all, understand each other. I think that is key to actually start converging on common solutions. And one of the reflections would be is that all of those different sectors are very different, and they have different types of contexts where they're coming from, and that means also that there is a bit of a path dependency on actually starting to evolve towards data space solutions. So depending on also what had been the technical solutions for data sharing in the past for those sectors, what are the, let's say, governance models and also the business rationales for that, in order to actually start moving towards a more common view on this, it takes time. As the DSSC is particularly looking then in the interoperability between the different sectoral data spaces, that is the part what is necessary to actually understand what are the minimum aspects that need to be universal in order to actually start moving forward together, as well as then what harmonization is needed. In the slide here, you see 20 active initiatives that are currently in the community of practice, plus 5 other initiatives that already have completed their actions as a preparatory action for data spaces, but that's not all. There's, as we know, many other types of data space initiatives out there that have been presenting themselves in the data spaces radar, including also the various types of use cases, and the Data Spaces Support Center is also actively looking at them, as well as having a dialogue with those. But of course, the sectoral data spaces themselves have even better understanding and better engagement with those different types of sectoral data spaces. So that is kind of the aspect that I would say that it takes time to converge, understand where are we actually coming from and what is the change management aspect for also the different types of initiatives coming from there. But maybe I'll finalize with that point that while, and I've said that also yesterday, that while the technical solutions for data spaces have evolved a little bit longer, the collaborative aspects for data spaces from a business point of view takes a little bit more time. So what the initiatives have also reflected themselves is that they are spending a lot of time actually communicating and explaining what is the value of data spaces and what would it be different than the previous types of solutions for data sharing environments. And I think now we're slowly starting to get more traction also in the wider network of stakeholders who will, in the end, will be the users and the participants in data spaces. But that is the effort that is taking time and is also very, very important.
And this last point is excellent, and actually, thanks to these learnings, right, we co-create or create a document, a paper with the initiatives really touching on this point. What are the issues that now is being quite influential also in the business building block? And I think that's what the initiatives are really influencing what we are doing, correct? And Silly, why don't we see that in practice?
Indeed. So let's welcome here on stage 4 different data spaces from different sectors. First of all, Dolores Ordóñez from the tourism data space preparatory action, DATES. Let's give a round of applause for Dolores. Or if we still miss her, then we hope that she could make it throughout the session. Next up, Nevena Rachko from the GREAT initiative looking at the Green Deal data space. Please come on stage. Please also come on stage, Clara Pezuela from Viware looking at the Smart Cities and Communities data space. Welcome. And last but not least, Patricia Serena from the UK data space that have already received a lot of recognition for the great work done in the cancer imaging data space. Welcome.
And to start our dialogue, we invite also 2 additional colleagues. We want to call also Mirte from Capgemini to come on stage. Please, Mirte, join us as well. And Savas Rogotis from BDBA, please join us on stage as well.
Let's sit all down and let's then start. It would be really great to hear your reflections about your learnings in your experience in the last 18 months collaborating in the context of the community of practice, but also especially in your initiatives. Maybe we could actually start from Nevena, your experience in the Green Deal data space. You're the support action for preparing the starting point for the upcoming deployment calls in Green Deal, and you're also finalizing your efforts at this point. What stands out from the last period? Yeah, maybe you could also reflect a little bit on the context that Green Deal is a very interesting domain because it has connections to many different types of sectors. So you probably have a good insight also to what is necessary to actually start collaborating across different sectors.
Okay. Hi, everyone. And first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to join this panel. It's really an honor to be here. And thank you so much, Sile, for the introduction. I think there are a lot of questions that you included there. So let's start just from the very beginning. So I'm representing the CSA that you could hear earlier. This is still an ongoing project. I'm covering the Green Deal data space. And indeed, the challenge there was to understand how to cover the Green Deal, because Green Deal is really touching upon different sectors. It's also smart cities. It's also energy. It's also somehow agriculture. So as you can see from my slide, I just shared which are the key policy areas that we focused in this last month. So it was the biodiversity, the zero pollution, and the climate change adaptation. So this is the key concept that we kept in mind. And of course, just to highlight the key outcomes are also shared on the slide. So we had the technical blueprint, the governance schemes, and the business models, the high priority data sets, and the roadmap. And I would like to stop at the roadmap because I think that's the most interesting one, of course. Our project is ending, so we are very close to the end of the project. It will end at the end of April. And right now, together with our colleagues, we are really working on closing some of the files, some of the deliverables, which we will make available on our website. And I would really like to encourage everyone to go there and check and download those documents. We share there our vision about the future of data spaces and the future, of course, regarding the Green Deal data space. And with that, I would also like to use this opportunity to mention that we are organizing a closing event of the project, which will take place on the 23rd of April in Brussels. And we will have also Ana Garcia, our relationship manager, who will join. So it would be very nice to have also the community of practice from the SSC joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, let's have a big applause. That's good, that's good. Good dynamics, it's good for everyone. Thank you, Nevena. And I have to say, as Nevena said, I've been the relationship manager of the GREAT project. And I have to say, I want to put it as an example of how the data space initiatives also drive our work. And because they collaborate, they need to collaborate with many different other initiatives. For instance, you drive a lot, you have been driven a lot in DSCC collaboration with Destination Earth, also many other collaborations, the Digital Product Passport, and many other things we established contact with because there was a need from the Data Space Initiative. So thank you very much. Now I want another applause for a person that just joined the stage, Dolores Ordóñez, who has been the coordinator of the DATES CSA from the tourism. Please big applause to Dolores.
Thank you.
Dolores, you are here. I'm going to ask you a question. So the DATES project was one of the two CSAs covering the tourism data space, the preparatory action. The project has ended. But what are your main takeaways from that CSA? What are your main learnings from that you can share with the audience?
Well, I think that for tourism, data has been always important. So when you have all the statistics, you always check in the destinations how many tourists arrive to the destination, which is the amount of money the people spend in your destination, and so on. No? So with the project, what we have done is try to create a data community in the tourism sector in which we try to involve all the actors of the tourism value chain. And this is the most important thing, because in the tourism value chain, we have the big actors, in which you can imagine the tour operators, big hotel chains, airline companies, and so on. But 90% of the business ecosystem are SMEs. So how can we reach this ecosystem? So the first thing that we did is to try to identify and to work with those entities that could need data, and they that have data, and how to work with them to help them to share this data. So the first thing, as all the CSAs have done, is to map existing initiatives in data sharing. So, and at the same time, when mapping this initiative, we try to start generating and speaking what is a data space. Because, okay, in this bubble, we all speak about data spaces, and so on. But when we go outside, and when we go to the ground, and we go to our sector, they don't know what is a data space. So we have to explain why data sharing is important. And this was one of the things that we did. And also, was very important for the data space in our project, and also in the other project, because we were the only vertical with 2 CSAs working together, and at the beginning it was a great challenge, and at the end it was very nice, because we had completely different points of view, and we merged in a single blueprint that is available there, and we were working with the ecosystem in the governance. The governance, we were mentioning, okay, we have the Data Space Support Center, we have all the technical developers and so on, and technology will be there, or is almost there, and everybody can understand the technology. But the governance is the key. So how we are going to generate this trust, and how we're going to generate these ecosystems in which they are willing to share data, understanding why they are sharing data and for which purposes. And I think this is the main takeaway. So of course, you have here all the results of the project. The blueprint is being used also by national ministries, because in our proposal, we had already one national ministry as official partner, but we organized a high-level event, and inside the project, we organized what we call an interministerial committee, in which we invite all the member states with competencies in tourism to come together and to learn about the things that we were doing, and to explain why data space is important for their ecosystems. And I think this is one of the most important takeaways.
Very good. Dolores, what do you think actually, how ready the tourism sector as a whole is actually for now moving on with the deployment aspects of data spaces?
Well, we hope the deployment will be just a demonstration that things can be done together, not only at local level, because I think at local level we have already started to share this data. So the smart destinations are sharing data with the environmental department, because everybody wants to measure the CO2 footprint, everyone wants to measure the human pressure in one territory, everyone wants to know where the tourists come from, because if they want to make a market campaign, they want to address the market. But the tourists coming to Europe, and Europe is a worldwide reference, they are not aware, or they don't pay attention to the borders. And this is the great thing that the deployment can do. The cross-border, because our tourists will go from Paris to Rome to Mallorca to Darmstadt, and they don't care about the connection, the roamings, the wherever. So they just want to have a seamless tourism experience. And this is the thing that we have to test, and the deployment will be a great opportunity to do it.
All right, and let's take the time also to maybe use this time to be a tourist also in Darmstadt, and have that angle in mind when we travel the streets here. Let's move to the smart cities context then. Clara, you have had the chance actually to be both in the preparatory action as well as now in the deployment action of smart cities and communities data space. Could you share a little bit about what are the major differences between the two actions actually, and also actually, yeah, what keeps you busy at this moment?
Okay, yes, the challenge of the Smart Communities data space is to come up with a federation of different data spaces at local, regional, or national level. because it's a bit unrealistic to think in an overall data space of all the cities across Europe. And the idea is to be able to implement data sharing use cases across different countries and cities thanks to this federation of data spaces. So in the case of the preparatory action, the main outcomes were the blueprint, as most of the support actions, which includes the governance recommendations for the different cities that would like to set up a data space, but also a roadmap, depending on the maturity of the digital maturity of the city, there is a roadmap to go further into the data spaces endeavor. Of course, there is a catalog of building blocks which is fully aligned with the Data Spaces Support Center catalog as well, and a reference architecture with certain components that we are recommended to the cities to set up in their platforms, in their digital twins, in order to be engaged into the data space. In order to do this blueprint, we interviewed more than 100 cities and suppliers, and we also formed a stakeholder forum, which is now more than 200 members amongst cities and suppliers. And once all this set up, the deployment project started at the end of last year. And the main purpose of the deployment project is, on one hand, to validate the blueprint that we have elaborated in the preparatory action in order to improve it and to make a reality in the emerging data spaces in cities. And on the other hand, to provision the data space itself. So, I mean, at a certain point, we need to set up some common registry of credentials, some common catalog of services and data. So the idea is to provide this data space to validate the blueprint. And for that, we are launching an open call now in a few days at the end of March for cities that could be interested in validating this blueprint and also developing use cases of data sharing across 2 different countries of the member states. And the call will be open till May. And the idea is to have 3 rounds of this open call and having up to 12 pilots validating the blueprint and implementing use cases across different domains, because smart cities is a very wide and cross-domain itself data space. So this is more or less what is busy now, people from the data space.
And Clara, very interesting point. I have two follow-up questions. First, how are you dealing with this, let's say, multi-sectorial aspect of smart cities? And second, touching on the previous questions on the engagement of the users, how difficult it is in the case of smart cities?
Well, I have to say that we haven't seen a lot of difficulty in engaging cities in the providing feedback to us, in participating in the stakeholder forum and so on. So it also depends that the maturity of the cities, not all of them are ready for doing this step forward. Some of them require still some pre-digitalization before going into this endeavor. But I have to say that, it's true that we are relying a lot on Living.eu movement, which is already there. So they are coming a lot of cities on it, but also we have associations in the consortium like FiWare, like OASC, that are also bringing a certain number of cities into the game. So I think that the connection with the cities has been more or less easy, and also the unit of smart cities at the European Commission is also supporting a lot for that. And regarding another question about cross-domain, one of the conditions or the requirements for the open call is exactly that the use cases that the pilots are bringing are essentially cross-domain. So it's of course an effort also in interoperability, because it's not only a matter to be interoperable within the same domain or within, but a city itself is very cross-domain, because you have utilities, you have water, you have many things in the city, and it's cross-domain by default. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will need to be looking at you also to learn a lot from the synergies aspects in between the different sectors. Thank you. Now I would like to pass into cancer images data space. And Patricia, your project also started, you have been running already for a time. is a deployment action. It's actually been referenced already, like with success stories. So what are you learning so far on your project? What are you at the moment, and what are the learnings that you can bring to the audience from your project?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. I am the project manager of the project in La Fe Health Research Institute. Okay, and the project is the goal of the project is to be a repository of cancer images in Europe, and it is expected that it will be more than 60 million cancer images for researchers and clinicians and innovators to use these images. And it is our work before. It is in the last year we designed the platform and we analyzed the technical and legal requirements because this is very important to anonymize these images. We also establish standards for the clinical data and for the images obtained by different techniques. And we have to put these images in a DICOM format to standardize all the images. And nowadays, we have the first version of the platform, and we have to populate this platform with images. And the most important challenge was to standardize all the techniques and to obtain the best way to check the anonymization. This is the most important question in this project, I think.
All right. Best of luck, first of all, also for the upcoming phases of the project. What I would like to also ask, actually, from Savas, in the context of community of practice, because in the DSSC, we've established a role for relationship managers who are basically the contact points for individual data space initiatives to really establish that connection from the support center to provide proactive support also to the initiatives, as well as then understand where actually the initiatives is in their, let's say, a life cycle or so. So Savas, you're the relationship manager for the language data space. What is your experience then in the past period about looking at collaboration between the support center and the initiative? And yeah, what would you highlight also for the future in that regard?
Thank you very much, Sile. Well, first of all, I have the privilege to be the relationship manager of the language data space. It's an exciting journey. I really like it. I think that it's all about personal relationships with these projects. You need to go a little bit deeper into their concerns, their issues from a project perspective, but also from a sector perspective. I don't think that one-fits-all solution is the correct way to approach it. So you really need to go into a little deeper into their concern in order to provide the best support that you can provide, based on the knowledge base that is available from the Data Space Support Center. And I think that all these lessons learned that comes from these sectoral data spaces are an important feedback loop for the Data Space Support Center. They can help improve the community as a whole. So from my point of view, as I said, it's all about building personal relationships, yet to be more in-depth into the specific concerns that these sectoral data spaces face in order to be a good relationship manager, if I can say.
All right. Well, before we go into also looking at the impact of data spaces from Mirte's side, I'd like to ask one last question from all of the people who are have a good contact to the data spaces. What is your maybe advice also going to the future or expectations to the wider community here in really realizing the vision for this common European data spaces? And maybe we could start from Dolores.
Well, I think we really need to have a common view and a common understanding about data. And then we have to think that outside of these walls, the people doesn't understand exactly what we are doing here. So, but we are doing something that is going to generate a great benefit for the community. So at the end, it's important to generate synergies. And I think we have the Data Space Support Center generating this homogenization. But we have to understand that also the European Commission is launching all the time new initiatives related to data. How can we generate all these great communities summing up? And I think Sabas has the key. So this is about human relations. So if we know all each other and we are all involved personally, our companies, our institutions, our ecosystems are related to other projects that are related to data spaces, data sharing, or whatever, we have to sum up to this community to inform and to generate a kind of joint repository on everybody can understand what's going on at the level of Europe, and then which are the impacts and how can they apply it to their level.
Very good. Patricia.
For me, the most important thing is to establish synergies and to find the right partners to ensure that the work is done in the better way, I think.
So I think that in the case of the smart communities, the most important challenge is to, as it is a multi-sectorial data space by default, to find these minimal interoperable mechanisms to be able to be interoperable really with other data spaces, and at the same time support the cities first in the digitalization and second in the engagement into the data space by providing means for implementing these minimal interoperable mechanisms.
So from the Green Deal perspective, looking at the future and what is important when we look at the work with DSSC, of course, I share the same views, the synergies, of course, also the technical aspect. But I think it's very important to keep the community alive, right? So you heard that the projects are ending, then maybe there will be new projects coming in. So I think it's very important to bring those new initiatives on board and make sure that they are really understanding the work that you are doing. And in my case, or at least in the Green Deal data space case, in this past 1.5 years, almost 2 years, what was super important for us that we made those connections with the smart cities, with energy, with healthcare, etc. Because otherwise it would have been very difficult. So through the relationship manager, of course, Anna, I think we had a bi-weekly call more or less, and she always came and asked me, what is your wish list? This time, and she was really trying her best to respond to the list that we were sharing, and that's how we, for instance, organized a speed dating with other sectoral data spaces, and that was the way how we were able to make sure that we are aligned on some key aspects, because of course all of us are looking at specific sectors. In my case, it's sometimes challenging, of course, due to the transversal nature of the Green Deal data space. But through those workshops, through those meetings, we really made sure that we are aligned on the core pillars of the data spaces.
Very good. I think very, very good learnings that I hope they are useful for many of the people in the audience, but for sure are very useful also for us towards the future. Let's go now to have an extended view of the overall community of practice, so to speak, and we have Mirte from Capgemini. And Mirte, you have been really doing a study on, so gathering the data from the initiatives and doing an assessment on the impact that they are creating. And you are also working towards the future. So what can you tell us of the insights that you have got so far, and also what is planned towards the future to keep working with them, to keep getting insights and to support with those insights?
Yes, thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. So as part of the impact and maturity assessment, we are delivering 3 reports. So last year we had a first evaluation, so a baseline report. Last week we launched a survey for the midterm evaluation report, and next year there will be a final evaluation report. In these reports we analyze 3 dimensions. So the first one is the ecosystem, and the second one is the maturity of the data spaces. So this is more used as contextual information. And the third dimension is the impact of EU-funded data spaces on the economy, on the society, and also environmental impacts. So the main learnings from the baseline evaluation, so the one that we conducted last year, regarding the ecosystem, is that no data space is alike. So some data spaces have more enabling support compared to others. In terms of maturity, there were 2 data spaces already in implementation stage. One was operational, and the other 13 data space initiatives funded by the EU were still in exploratory and preparatory stage. And we also found that these initiatives at an early stage of development are really reliant on the EU support, so they didn't plan yet any funding strategy beyond the EU financial support. And in terms of impact, there was one data space initiative that was already yielding economic, social, and environmental impact, and this was the data space for cultural heritage. And in the survey, we also have one section on challenges, and the challenges that were most common among the data space initiatives were among interoperability, trust, data quality, and also, like Dolores mentioned before, regarding the perceived benefits of data holders in sharing their data. So now looking forward, so we launched the survey for the midterm impact evaluation last week. So the data spaces in scope are mainly funded through the Digital Europe program as well as the Horizon Europe program. And the initiatives in scope are shown on the screen. And this midterm evaluation will also include the maturity assessment that we have also been developing under the DSSC, and this will be explained further in the session this afternoon.
Very good. Thank you for promoting the session. If you want to know more, there is a very particular session this afternoon. But I think for everything that has been presented so far, we learned a lot of things from many of you yesterday and even the day before yesterday, and there will be many things going on this afternoon. So we will get many more insights through the day. Let's go. We have a few more minutes, and now I want to also talk about other stakeholders in our community that are also very important and are generating a lot of value. And I want to touch first on the Strategic Stakeholder Forum, and some of you are part of it as well. And I want to ask Savas, because Savas is the one managing the Strategic Stakeholder Forum. So can you maybe explain what is the value that the Strategic Stakeholder Forum is bringing to the overall community, and how you have experienced the learning so far?
Yeah, thank you very much, Anna. Yes, so the Strategic Stakeholder Forum is another very important group within the DSCC community. It complements very well the great community that we have with us about the community of practice. And I think they provide a very strategic value to DSCC in aspects that have to do with the key assets that DSCC is producing. So we have here with us in the Strategic Stakeholder Forum actually 28 organizations from 11 EU countries, but also some have pan-European or even international focus. We have, it's a very interesting group. We have DGs, we have national public authorities, we have RTOs, associations, industry associations, industry representatives, and all of them, they pretty much help in the joint value creation, in collective value for the DSCC assets and to bring this value to the community. So I think that we need to capitalize on the deep expertise of these organizations. They are important influencers, enablers, even users of data spaces. And in this way, these organizations are very helpful in bringing strategic value to DSCC.
Very good, and thank you, Savas. And I would like to bring a success story, and I was given permission to tell about this success story here on the stage. So you see, we have, for instance, the Spanish Data Office as one of the players in the stakeholder forum, and they published, all the Spanish people might know that they published a few days back the action plan for data spaces in Spain, referencing the blueprint of the DSCC. And they call me and they say, Anna, this is a result of us participating in the Strategic Stakeholder Forum. So I have to say this is a nice success story, and I hope that we continue with those. And please, this group is open. So if you think you want to be part of it and you will make a difference in this group, please contact us, because we keep growing, and it's an open group. Let's move also, and I need to give the floor back to Savas very quickly to say we are collaborating with other stakeholders, and maybe we can do a quick round with that list. But we are also collaborate with many others, right, Saba? And who are those?
Yeah, we're collaborating with more initiatives and bodies in the larger digital ecosystem, and this is in order to bring a holistic picture for us. So all these initiatives, actually, we are counting them, it's like 90. We have been engaged with them, with some, we got a little deeper, with some, we had some intro connections, but the ambition with them is to align, to influence the overall ecosystem, to avoid fragmentation. This is something very important. And you can see here in this slide that we are already engaged with large European data initiatives, with research and innovation projects, but also with initiatives in AI, in cloud to edge, in cybersecurity, and in skills and more. So the ambition, as I said, is pretty much to align with all these initiatives. It's important instrument to get also requirements for our work. So I would really like to thank also the representatives of these initiatives, because we had such a great collaboration over the past 1.5 years.
Yeah. And this is actually driven by the data space initiatives, because I know, for instance, with UKM, you've been collaborating with the AI testing and experimentation facility for healthcare, and that's a target group also. Also with the smart cities, we have been also collaborating, right, with the ITEF. I know what Green Deal, yeah, there are many of those players that are actually, they are really, they have been very demanding, I have to say, the Green Deal data space, but many of them come through also Green Deal data space. And I know many of the research projects that are building use cases to, in the future, bring new capabilities to the tourism data space. So there are really a lot that is really connected to the work that you are doing. And well, Sile, let's maybe close with a final, very quick question to everyone, and then we announce the moment, right?
I think, yeah, a lot has been already said in terms of what we look forward to the future. I think maybe for the closing round, it's just a question of what next? You know, what is from your side, what you really ask from both the support center as well as the community, and then I think we can welcome everyone actually on stage for a great celebration. Maybe Nevena.
Okay. I will be very quick. My request, or I think the ideal scenario, is just to continue the great collaboration, you know, to make sure that we are all working together, and hopefully in the future, you know, with the other projects, we can still do it. So that's it.
Okay, in my case, test and validate what we have already written in paper. And if you are in the smart cities domain, invite you to participate in the open call for pilots to help us to validate this.
In my case, we are launching an open call in April to introduce more partners to UKM. So if someone is interested, maybe can join us. And we have to populate the platform with a lot of images. And we are working to create an edict to ensure the sustainability of the platform after the end of the funding in 2026. So this is our goals.
I would add maybe one more thing from my side. I would just encourage all of us to stay open-minded, but also very constructive in the way how we actually build on each other's solutions. Let's try to also avoid, let's say, friction in the sense that, like, because there will be friction at some point, but there's always a way how to actually make that constructive for the overall realization of data spaces. So just one principle or wish for the community. What about Mirte?
Yeah, so from my side, I would like to request all data spaces initiatives funded by the EU to respond to the survey. The deadline is the 5th of April, and this is not just to create insights on the impact of these data space initiatives on the EU society and economy, but also to identify success stories, challenges, and also to foster peer learning.
Okay, from my side, I would like to see let's keep the community live. Let's keep the community running. I think we are all here for the same target, the same goal, and we need to really, as I said before, to avoid fragmentation in this endeavor. Yeah.
And I think we are in front of a new digital revolution. And this is something that is a process. So I like the sentence when they said, learning by doing. So let's do it together.
Very good. So I have two requests, excellent. Two requests for now the audience. For me, it's for the audience. The first one, what you have heard here, it touches you, and you think you need to be part of it, this is an open community, so come to talk to us. And I've been talking to some people through the 3 days, and I know some of you will fit very well in this collaborative approach. And second request, if you are part of the network of stakeholders, and I would say that maybe half of the auditorium will be, please come on stage now. Now there's the moment for the break, but first we want to take a picture of our network of stakeholders. So please, and if UDAP is about me, come, because we are really open. So please come on stage and let's take the picture and a bit of music and a big applause for all the panelists. Thank you very much.